welcome to the KrakCast. I'm David McGinley, and I have got two great guests in the studio with me this week to preview the 2018 Russian World Cup. One's not really a guest, he's here every week. Say hello, Josh.
Hello.
And Nathan Arnold, welcome to the KrakCast.
Hello, Dave. Thanks for having me.
Absolute pleasure, my man. Nobody knows more about the game than you. You've got an encyclopedic knowledge of all corners of the globe, and you can pronounce Polish people's names. So
I'll remember that next time we're in the pub and you were arguing about something. You'll defer to the fact that I'm the knowledge master.
I regularly do, but that doesn't mean I don't catch you out the odd time, and it's always sweet as nut when I do. So let's talk about the Poles' chances. Let's get right into it.
Well,
what do you think?
They're 40-1.
40-1?
40-1.
Seems very generous odds.
You think?
Yeah, now that I think about it, it's about right. Yeah.
I mean, I've got to say, I looked at the squad. It's probably it's their golden generation, is it fair to say, since the 70s?
I think it's a wonderful squad. I think they're an excellent team.
I think if you look over the years, I've never seen such a squad that's got so many players that are abroad, but abroad in good clubs too. Not playing second division Belgian league or anything like that. There's people in Italy, in England, France, Spain.
It's impressive, even with Krakowiak joining West Brom.
Yeah, that didn't go so well.
Career move of all time.
He's technically a PSG player, though.
He is technically, and he was playing a lot better after they got relegated. I've seen him a couple of times down the stretch. He was playing quite nice, and he's a very good player on his day. What do you think about Mr. Glick's injury?
Well,
the talk of the town.
It must be terrible. It's happened to a few players, but you get included in the squad, and on the same day you injure yourself in training. He's on standby. He's not completely out of the picture. They've got till 24 hours before the tournament starts to replace players, so I think they're giving him a chance.
Run us through the team, Nathan. You know, the big names, who you really fancy in this side, who's the one to watch, who might make an impact, what do you think of Zielinski? I mean, you know, and of course get to the big dog, the man himself.
Well, obviously, Poland have always had fairly solid options goal over the years. I mean, you can go Dudek, you've got Szczęsny now, they had Borec, Fabianski, so they're strong there. Centre-backs, you've got the mythical Michał Pazdan, who's a bit of a cult figure amongst the Polish fans. Piszczek at full-back, who's one of the Borussia Dortmund players. Thiago, which I don't know how a Polish player ended up being called Thiago, but there's one in there. In the midfield, you've got Błaszczykowski, who's not perhaps... He's coming towards the end of his career, but he's still playing the German league at Wolfsburg, very popular with the fans. Zielinski's very exciting at Napoli, being talked about. In fact, Liverpool, I believe, were involved.
Yeah, he turned us down, so, you know.
Yeah, well, you don't want to talk about him too much then.
I'm only messing. I hope he has a wonderful career.
You got, we already mentioned Glick. There's Krzyzewski, who's been in the team for years, was at Hull. Looked fairly good in the Premier League last year, even though they got relegated. And then you get to the business end where you've got, of course, everyone's going to talk about Lewandowski.
Why wouldn't they?
Top scorer in European qualification, scored 16 goals in their qualifying.
And that's a record in history. Nobody has ever scored 16 in qualifying.
Wow. So we all know about the qualities of Lewandowski. Can he get the service? You know, I think the Poles very often, they sometimes, if they don't perform well, he seems to get the blame as well. When in reality, it's does he get the service to perform? You know, he plays for Bayern Munich. It's not fair to say he scores goals for them week in, week out, but he doesn't do it for Poland. Yeah.
Is it fair to say that if the Poles can keep it tight at the back and get that ball regularly into Lewandowski, they should have a good run in this tournament. I mean, like, we'll break down their group in if you don't mind. It's a tough group.
Yeah,
it's one of them. The first time you see it, their first game is against Senegal. Yeah,
that's right, Senegal.
And then they've who's next after that? Is it Colombia
then
next?
It's Colombia and finish off with Japan. Which could be crucial.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to be losing that first game. You really got to come to the party in top condition.
I mean, you'd think that the competition for the qualification spots, Senegal and Colombia, who will play each other in the last game while they play Japan, might be a bit of a saver for them.
Josh, what do you think about the I'm going to call it the frank lack of positivity of the average Polish football fan? I'm in the office. I can't seem to get anyone to get excited about this. You know, of course people are excited, but it's kind of like, yeah, they're not going to do so well.
Well, I mean, you know what the English find amusing about this, and I speak for myself and maybe Nathan, is that we have decades of deep-seated pessimism ever since we stole the World Cup in 1966, and I think, you know, there was, what was it, the last Euros, and then Poland really looked like they were going to go on a run there. You know, the game against Portugal, they opened up within minutes. You know, they'd scored a belting goal. It looked like it was going to be an absolute mauling. and then they just sat back, and then it was a 1-1 draw, and it was terrible. So I think Polish fans are resigned to the fact that however good they think the team is, luck will always smile the other way.
But you got to play your part, The Irish fans don't go to a tournament talking about, we might do this and we might do that. The only certainty is that the fans are going to be totally into it, 100%, making the most noise at this stage. Now, the Polish international fans are very good, they make a hell of a noise up in the Warsaw Stadium. But do you think that they can really stay in there and really, unlike the England fans, really get behind the team? Because that's what it's all about, The 12th man has to make a difference. And is there going to be a big travelling support to Russia with the tensions?
There are
free
tensions.
visas, isn't it?
You'd like to hope that they get some good support going there. It's a neighbouring country. It's a vast country. I'm not even sure where Poland are playing, to be honest. They're playing in one of the nearest stadiums. One of the stadiums is 3 time zones away, the furthest one out. So you think they get good support. I think once the tournament started, they'll get more and more behind it. My impression is that they will get behind it until Poland are out, and then it'll be forgotten quite quickly and swept under the rug.
I wouldn't be surprised to see them go deep. With Lewandowski,
well, you say that,
possible.
But there's always with the way the draw's gone, there's a good chance they could play England in the last 16.
Exactly. So the draw has been very favourable towards them. Remind us what was it, Ecuador, the last knockout game England won in the World Cup?
Ecuador? It might have been. It was.
Let's talk about the fearsome Lions.
Well, we haven't got the greatest squad in generations, but I've watched both our friendly warm-up games and we've been surprisingly positive, albeit against Nigeria and Costa Rica, with 2 different 11s. We've played with good movement up front. We look bright. It depends on that starting 11. I think we got problems in defence, but we've not got the toughest group, and our toughest game of the group, by which time hopefully we've already qualified.
What do you think of Southgate, Josh? Is he a bit of an empty tracksuit? I don't know. I don't know if he's got the charisma to be a top manager. Maybe that's a bit of a cliche, but that's what I think.
Oh, I think, I agree on the absence of charisma, but I think so far he's managed to tread. It's always kind of a poison chalice, isn't it? The England job. You can never make the right decision unless, of course, you actually win something. But I think he's done well with the players available for him. There's a little bit of bravery there. He's really got most of the top young players of the last 2 seasons are out there.
Well, he made some horrendous decisions at the last Euros. I mean, I wasn't having the way he set England up at the last Euros. Some of the Harry Kane taking the corners. I know that became a bit of a stop complaining, Harry. But that was ridiculous.
Hodgson.
That was Roy Hodgson, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah.
He left after the tournament.
He really should have left. Yeah.
And I'm also not just jumping. I'm not buying the charisma thing. I mean, you don't need to have the charisma to be. I mean, Alf Ramsey was hardly charismatic.
Yeah, even Paisley as well was known for being uncharismatic to the yin to Shankly's yang. If you
even look at Yogi Low.
That's a fair point.
Yogi Low hardly screams charisma. He looks like a male catalogue model.
I cannot think of anything since he put his hand down his pants and sniffed his hand afterwards. I mean, the man's had such an amazing career, but he really, I mean, you're on TV, dude. Every major Germany game. How could you possibly do that? It just disturbed me so much. Some things should not be ever put into slow motion, FIFA, okay? And moving on to the Germans, I mean, I don't think they're going to do that well. I just have a feeling they're going to have one of their rare bad tournaments.
Well, they haven't won, in 6 games or something?
Which is a record going back to the 30s. Wow. I can't believe I thought Southgate was in charge last year. They've got a good squad on paper, but that's the thing with Germany. Apart from very, very rare occasions, they always put it together for a tournament. They're like the British cycling team, and do nothing in 4 years, but always put it together for the Olympics. That's why it's such a bold prediction, Nathan. Yeah. I'm predicting that the Germans will be knocked out in the second round, that Poland will knock England out in the second round, and then avoid Germany because of their knockout themselves in the quarterfinals, and Poland are going to get all the way to the semis. Well, if Germany were to struggle in their group and just qualify in second, they'd likely play Brazil in the last 16. I think Brazil are going to win it. I think the Samba boys are going to take revenge, not specifically on Germany, but revenge for the utter humiliation of what happened in, was it Sao Paulo? Yeah. Oh my God. Have you ever witnessed anything like that game? Josh, I mean, what were you thinking when you saw Brazil. I mean, and I'm throwing it over to you because with respect, you know, you're a little older. You remember the great Brazil teams, the ones that kind of made a man shake, like, you know.
I think the best I can do is reach for an analogy in another sport, and that is, you know, if I don't know, like Ireland beat the All Blacks, you know, by a cricket score, to really mix my sporting metaphors.
Mm-hmm. Not sure where you're going.
I mean, yeah, it was a shock. I mean, they literally, it wasn't
in rugby,
just
that is,
it wasn't just the scoreline. It was the way you could literally see Brazil falling apart in the first half. Those 10 minutes, between 20 and 30 minutes, they just lost their heads completely.
Yeah, I mean, Firmino, Coutinho, I mean, they've got some real new blood in there alongside Neymar, who's fully fit and he's had a few months off, you know, like he's ready to go. I think they're going to crush everybody. I just have a feeling.
They've got a reasonably easy group. I still think they'll come undone quarters or semis. I'm actually going to go for Spain. I think they've been very quietly impressive through their qualifying campaign. Still got the core of the great side in there with some new additions. Youngsters like Asensio, Isco, floating around in front. Diego Costa's back in the side. They've also got
That's where I worry for them. Costa's a great player, but if he's not firing, you know, where are the goals coming from?
I still think, well, you say
I hope Spain don't win it. Their win in 2010 was the most boring win in the history of the World Cup.
It illustrates the point where the goals kind of come from. They won every single game in the knockout stages 1-0.
Spain without Messi, not much fun to watch. It's not the same. I didn't like that 2010 team. The Vuvuzelas, Spain passing everyone to death. It was the worst World Cup ever, in my opinion. Josh, we need a prediction out of you to win the World Cup now, because we both put our cards on the table. I say Brazil. Nathan says Spain. Who are you going for?
I'm tempted just because they always sneakily do it somehow to go for Germany, but I hate myself for saying that. I don't know. I think I'm going to run the flag up the mast and say I'm going to back England.
Go on, Josh.
Madness.
You never know. Like, actually, I've looked at some of the way the draws could work out. They could get quite a favourable little run, at least to the semis.
England to the semis. Yeah, why not? I thought that.
Do you know what? I was this confident at the last World Cup and we finished bottom of the group with 1 point. So, you know, I've just got the rose-tinted spectacles on.
What about dark horses? We have to talk about dark horses.
Well, it depends what qualifies as a dark horse now. Are Belgium still classed as a dark horse? They would have been a couple of years ago.
And Belgium have been rubbish recently, actually, considering the stellar quality of their squad.
No, dark horse is something like, you know...
Peru,
that is a dark horse.
No, they're one of the highest ranked teams in the competition. They're actually ranked, I think, like 9th or 10th in the world now, Peru.
But they don't have loads of household names like Belgium do. So I would give you a dark horse there.
They got the captain back, who was banned for cocaine usage, but on appeal, all the captains of the other teams in their group wrote to FIFA to appeal the ban to let him play in the World Cup because it's the only chance he'll ever get. Because Peru haven't qualified for years, and they successfully overturned it. He's going to play in the World Cup, and he celebrated by scoring 2 goals in their last friendly before the tournament. So they got a good little side there. A bit of South American fight. Other dark horse, I don't know. Sweden?
The Swedes? No way. Not a chance. Not a chance. I want to talk to you about refereeing. I want to talk about VAR. Are we calling it VAR? Or are we calling it VAR? What are we doing here?
VAR.
Yeah, I think it's more formal.
It's too easy to make a Jamie Vardy pun.
Well, it is for you. You can make a pun out of anything. How do you feel, Josh, about the officiating situation this World Cup? I'm very nervous that this is going to be an absolute cluster fuck.
I think VAR is one of those things where I'd say I'd like it to be something that works really well and is really useful. But I did see its first kind of outing in a big stadium, which was one of Tottenham's FA Cup games, and it was just ludicrous. I mean, okay, teething troubles and, you know, getting to grips with the whole thing, but
how did we get here? I mean, Nathan, maybe you could take this one up. For 20 years, there's been top-end technology in sports like tennis, cricket. They've been working on it, getting better in American sports too. And instead of football's governing body testing this out slowly over a number of years, which I'd be totally in favour of, seeing what works, seeing what doesn't, seeing how to present the information to the crowd, they've just thrown the flagship event under the bus of technology, and by the end of this, everyone's going to be convinced it's the worst thing ever. And I just can't believe what a shambles its introduction has been. And I'd like you to maybe correct me and tell me Gianni Infantino has a plan.
I mean, yeah, I'd like to, Dave, but I really would. But it is all about Infantino. You know, we had years of Blatter, and in the background for UEFA, you had Platini. We finally got rid of the old guard and the corruption. I think Infantino is so keen to make his stamp as the new man in charge that he's taking every opportunity he can to what he calls take the game forward. And this one's landed on his lap, and he's like, well, it's 2 years to World Cup. I don't care. Get it done. Get it in place. And yeah, you're right. It hasn't been tested out in the correct way. It's got so many flaws to it. I think the worst thing will not be the decisions. It's just, you know, World Cups recently have at times struggled for atmosphere.
Yeah.
I don't want to see that, you know, taken out of the stadiums because they're spending 3 minutes reviewing a dodgy penalty.
Did you see the stadium with the weird stand that's set back from the ground that they're going to get out? Have you ever seen anything cooler? You know, I wanted to hate it, I wanted to laugh, but something about that is just amazing to me. I don't know what. We're all over the place here. Gianni Infantino is a clown.
He is.
And he's pasty looking. They could have at least got an impressive Italian with a nice fine head of hair to, you know, at least look the part. You know, some kind of Antonio Conte in his 60s type figure. But no, we're left with a pasty, bald dude.
I think the really interesting will be how they handle racism in.
Oh yeah, because talk to us about this. There's been a big announcement about this, hasn't there?
Yeah, so he's in good language. He said that referees can stop games if they feel that there is overt racism on the stands, but I don't think there's any chance of that happening. Really,
Josh? Do you think a referee is going to step up to the plate and end racism worldwide?
It might depend on the reading and hearing ability of the racist fans. If they know that there's something like this going on and it's therefore some kind of gauntlet, they may be tempted to push the envelope. And,
well, that's true as well.
Yeah, it's nearly like poking. You know, football fans have a bad habit of, if you tell them not to do something, doing, you know, exactly that.
Oh, yeah.
It will be interesting to see if a ref, if it does happen, I'm fully in support of a ref calling a game. You know, nobody should have whatever things thrown at them or monkey noises. I mean, even in Italy and in Russia, they have started to haven't they, like, throw out sentences and bans and games behind closed doors. So maybe it can be contained.
It raises an interesting point. Someone read an article online that's saying because if you abandon the game, then you award it to the team that's receiving the racism. And someone wrote, what about if it's a crucial last round of the groups game, and your team is losing and needs to win? What's to stop your own fans shouting racist abuse at your own players to get the game abandoned?
Do you know what? I mean, it is a Pandora's box.
And get your team awarded the win.
We're just giving people ideas now, KrakCast. I was going to say I fancy an English referee because you wouldn't really see that in the Premier League. In the whole time I've been watching the Premier League, I don't remember ever, since, you know, you heard about it in the 80s, of course, but I've never seen it.
I would agree, but unfortunately there's going to be no English referee at the tournament.
Is that right?
No, unfortunately. And I've read a lot about how this is, and before you even get on that train, Dave, about how, because they're incompetent, it's got nothing to do with that. It's Mark Clattenburg was our English list referee for international tournaments, and it did indeed take the final of the last Euros, but he left the British FA to take a job in Saudi Arabia, is that right?
That's right.
And as a result, it was too late to replace the list with
somewhere
a new English
hot,
ref.
well paid anyway.
Yeah, so it's not through a lack of quality, it's through the fact we didn't have time to get a new ref on the list before the tournament.
Really? All season?
Because there's a cut-off date, apparently.
Really? Okay. Because I thought it was disgraceful the way UEFA's head of referees, whose name escapes me right now, didn't stick up for Michael Oliver for sending off Buffon after the Champions League. It was a disgraceful display from Buffon, even though he is a legend, and I wouldn't hold it against him if you ever met him in a bar or anything.
Your heart's a bag of rubbish, Dave. You can eat crisps in the stand.
You have no integrity, McGinley. So, is there anything about the World Cup that just gets you going, Nathan? I mean, you know, it's so tied to everyone's childhood. Is there any special memories that you always kind of hope will happen again, or things you miss about it?
No, see, as an England fan, it's not. It's you talked about Poland earlier, but we have a fantastic tradition of misery and bad luck. I mean, we hold the record for the most losses in penalty shootouts. We've had the hand of God. We've had Ronaldinho's floater under the bar. We had Beckham sent off. Ronaldo winking when he got Rooney sent off. Lampard's goal that was over the line.
That was gas.
So it's actually, I try and get excited, but it's usually quite miserable.
I can't believe with two English guys here, I'm the one that has to point out that again Ireland didn't qualify. So it's just beholden to us to be bitter and laugh at you when you get knocked out in the second round, as you always do.
Although, so you won't be supporting England, Dave?
Well, look, there's loads of Liverpool players playing for England. Will I be supporting England? Let me give you a straight answer. Absolutely not.
Which I'm hurt, Dave. You mentioned Ireland didn't qualify. You will recall that when they got hammered by Denmark in that qualifier, I was sat with you supporting Ireland.
Yeah, and you're supposed to be my lucky football charm. What happened to you that night? What happened to you that
Christian
night?
Eriksen, I think.
Yeah.
And you remember that we still had a magic sing-song afterwards, and I think the general feeling as everyone went home is it's the World Cup's loss. The Danes ain't exactly much fun. Fun sponges, I'd say.
Fun sponges. At least they've won a tournament.
They have won a tournament, and I'm very jealous of them and Portugal and Greece. Oh man, Greece, we could be Greece. We could do that. Ireland will never win a tournament in my lifetime. That's a firm prediction you're getting over here. Every year, every cycle, it gets harder for us. Less and less players making it at the top English clubs like they used to. I was asked the usual question that kind of stops you in your tracks, but makes perfect sense. Why do you support Liverpool and not support England at the World Cup? To me, it makes sense. I'd like to see the Liverpool lads not get too traumatised and not spend too much of their summer running around in the Russian heat.
So is that why you're going for Brazil? Because of the old Coutinho nostalgia, Firmino?
Well, hopefully there'll be no nostalgia with Firmino. He'll stay for the rest of his career. But look, Coutinho's a lovely footballer. I'm over it now. I don't want to talk about him.
I'm looking forward to the spectacle. I do get excited about a World Cup. Games every day for the first 2 weeks, 2 or 3 a day. You even manage somehow to get excited about Morocco, Iran, which will probably be like 0-0 and not much. It'd be like watching the American League about 10 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, everyone, if it's the World Cup and the games are paced out nicely, it's extra days in the pub, it's excuses to meet your mates, it's sunshine and beer gardens,
Should national teams get more fancy nicknames a la American franchise sports?
Absolutely not. I mean, you saw how Hull reacted when they tried to add tigers to
But if they did, what would the Irish name be?
Biggar.
The Irish, I don't know, the Irish leprechauns.
The fighting Irish, I don't know.
Fighting Irish.
Yeah, a little leprechaun with his fists up.
What would Poland's about? The Polish Eagles.
The Eagles, yeah, I suppose.
English Lions, obviously.
Yeah, some of you are still clinging on to it. Let's do the excluded 11. You can't do a World Cup podcast without the players who are unlucky to miss out.
Yeah, there's been a few big ones. Certainly a couple of surprises to me.
Who was your biggest?
Sane.
Oh, yeah.
I couldn't believe the Germany taken. He's their best left side attacking player. And he didn't even make the 23. I find that he was Premier League PFA Young Player of the Year this year.
I know, he's brilliant. Fastest player in the world, I believe, as well. Statistically, it's astonishing that they haven't brought him. He scored 23 goals.
Do you think it was anything to do with the cornrows that he's just had put in his hair?
They're not very nice, are they? No. I mean, as well, if you're the fastest player in the world, the last thing you want is stuff slapping you in the face while you run. I mean, it doesn't seem very sensible to me. Who else have ESPN got on their excluded list? I needed a list to work off. Emerick Laporte. He's barely played for City.
Yeah. I mean, Spain...
Mark Bartra.
The defence. But, yeah, again, he's been around... Where is he now? He left... I think he's at Monaco, something like that.
This is a big one. I hate saying this guy's name. Raja Nangolan.
Raida Nangolan.
I knew you were going to make a show. Do you know what? I have to say, though, in the first game in the Brazil World Cup, he turned in one of the worst performances I've ever seen a midfielder give. He must have wasted the ball every time he got it. He shoots on sight on occasion, but he is a very good player. I mean,
yeah, and this is it. I think this is what got him dropped. They claimed it's the system that he wants to play, but by all accounts, he is absolutely always outstanding for Roma and always terrible for Belgium.
Well, I've seen some evidence of it with my own eyes. Now, the next one on the list is...
He loves a cigarette, by the way, as well.
He's famous for it.
Yeah, when they played Liverpool, didn't the manager make sure he got a hotel room with a balcony so that he could have a cigarette?
Well, 20 a day never slowed down Johan Cruyff or Zinedine Zidane. So,
it slowed him down in the long run, then, didn't it?
Well, he did die of lung cancer. That is a very, very fair point. It should be noted, however, that it is still astonishing that he was one of the most athletic, quickest players of his generation, and he did smoke like a chimney. I mean, I'm impressed by it. I don't know why I am. It's maybe not appropriate to be, but I am. And Zidane's just as cool as fuck. I don't care how else it can't be put any other way. And if Zidane can't drink a little espresso with a Galloway hanging out of his mouth, the world's gone to crap.
Berbatov, he liked to smoke.
Yeah, another elegant footballer. There's a bit of a trend here. It's the real artists
Jack
that
Wilshere.
Right, moving on our list. Okay, the next on the list is Nawaf Al-Abed for Saudi Arabia.
Inclusive.
And next on the list is Anthony Martial. That is a bit of a shocker.
Well, I mean, you can understand though. I mean, he hasn't been getting in the United States. Is that Mourinho's fault that he's not in that squad? I mean, he just hasn't had the opportunity to play. All right, you could say he's not done the best when he's been given his opportunity, but he's not been given enough opportunity consistently. I think it's more surprising that Lacazette's not in that squad.
Yeah, although he didn't have a great season, really, did he? I mean, I know games per minute, but he wasn't a game changer.
Still, I mean, Giroud's a starter for France, but they sold Giroud to bring in Lacazette.
I love Giroud. Yeah. That's a real man.
Yeah.
Nobody heads the ball like Giroud. He's one of the best strikers in the world. And I firmly believe if Wenger had played him week in, week out, he'd be up there in the top 5, top 6 strikers in the world. I covet him. I can't believe Chelsea got him for 18 million. What a option off the bench he is, man. I mean, what a player. Great header of a football.
You probably start.
Morata didn't make the cut.
Yeah, I mean,
even with their lack of striking options.
Well, that's the thing. It is a bit surprising with the lack of the striking options. Diego Aspas, the famous Liverpool corner taker, made it into the squad.
Yeah, well, he's been flying for Celta Vigo the last few years. He's been absolutely brilliant for them by all accounts.
Exactly. He's your version of Diego Forlan.
Yeah, I don't think he's as good as Forlan was when he went to Spain.
He was rubbish at United, but then he went to Spain and he was golden boots wise.
I can't believe you didn't mention the only game he wasn't rubbish when he was at United.
Well, I'll tell you, he was rubbish that day. Here's your Dudek.
All right, okay. I've met you as you do, and let me say, Paul, you can be very proud of that man. Polite, handsome, and just as tall as you'd like to think. And he was an absolute gentleman.
And a little
to me,
tinge of a
blathering
Scouse.
on about how he wonder, I love you.
Little tinge of a Scouse accent when he speaks English.
Yes, very polite man, very, very nice guy. Go Yersey. I think that's pretty much all we've time for here in our World Cup roundup. Oh, Mauro Icardi also didn't make the squad.
Who?
Tough shit, Mauro. Inter Milan, Icardi.
Oh, Icardi. His wife's his agent.
Really?
Yeah,
I know stuff about Icardi.
he knows his place.
Oh, God. Any concluding thoughts on the Russian World Cup, Josh?
Let's just... Sorry, I'm not Josh. I'm getting so excited about the World Cup.
In answer to your question, no.
Okay, let's leave it there then. And when Brazil win it, we're going to do a follow-up piece about how I was right.